Um, well, my name's Pauline, and before lockdown, I'd say I kind of had just a regular, ordinary life. I worked um, with adults with learning disabilities in a day centre, and I came home to all the animals in the house. And I live here with my wife, Tracey, and I have two grown up daughters who have lives of their own, so they're off out there living their life. Um, and so, yeah, life is good, really. And I kind of knew my place and I knew my routine and my, I knew my job kind of inside out, really, because I've worked with adults with learning disabilities in basically in the same kind of role. It's tweaked over the years, but same kind of role for, I hate to say it, but for 31 years. When you have to say the number, it's always a bit disconcerting. But so yeah, so I worked in a variety of different centres, but basically doing roughly the same job, which I loved, which I absolutely loved. I loved working um, with the client group. Um, Primarily, what I did pre-lockdown was I worked in a performing and creative arts project, which was basically, we did lots of acting and lots of shows with the clients, and we put on a big show um, roughly every 18 months, 2 years, and there was lots of work went into that, and we did photography projects and we did art projects, and it was brilliant. It was really good fun, actually. There were some days when we kind of think, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. I can't believe they're actually giving me money to have this much fun. And it was great. It was just really, really good. And in terms of my out of work life, we did lots of travelling. My wife is massively into travelling, and she doesn't really drag me along because it's not much of a drag. I'm kind of quite quite up for it. So yeah, we'd be out and about, and when we weren't out and about travelling, we'd be planning travelling, and we'd be thinking about travelling and having our wish list, and um, in terms of my family as well, the girls and their boys would come over and see us quite a lot, and we'd have tea and we'd have barbecues, or we'd have games nights, or all sorts of things. But we saw quite a lot of them, and there was lots of FaceTimes and phone calls all the time. So we were quite a close knit little unit, really. So yeah, so it was kind of a bit of a shock, really, when lockdown happened, and everything literally changed overnight. My On the day that, not the kind of national lockdown, but the day that my work actually chose to close, or made the decision to close, um, I was actually out of the building with my colleague, and we came back about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which we were due to come back, only to be told then that was it. We were closing that day, and a lot of the clients had already gone home, a lot of the staff had already gone home, and so there's a few of us left, and it was kind of a case of, oh right, what do we need to do then? It's just, you're not coming in tomorrow. And then everything kind of changed completely overnight, from one day when I kind of knew what I was doing. I knew what I was supposed to be preparing and be doing in my work life. Suddenly I was at home. And then it had to be a case of finding out what work wanted me to do. And what kind of happened is that because the day centre that I worked in was closed, they asked me then to help out in home care. So I helped out doing various shifts, and it took a little while for that to kick in. So I had a few weeks of not really doing very much and not really knowing what I was doing. So I was kind of catching up on some paperwork, on the laptop from bits of work that I hadn't had time to finish at the centre. So I was catching up on paperwork and doing an odd few shifts with home care. So I was going into people's homes and helping them out with any care support that they needed. And so for the first few weeks, it was all a bit kind of weird. It felt a bit like I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of didn't have a purpose. And if I asked anybody, like my management team, a lot of the times they were just as much in the dark as I was. And it was kind of a little bit weird. And slowly, as the lockdown went on and on and on and on, my shifts increased. And so I did a little bit more home care, and it was really weird because I was used to kind of working. I did Monday to Friday, come 4:00, that was it. Do you know what I mean? Well, it was 4:30, but come that time, that was it. I went home and I knew what I was doing. My weekends were mine, all of that kind of thing. And then I found with the home care and slotting into doing that, suddenly I was working shifts. I was doing split shifts. So on the days I was working all day and into the evening. Then I'd work, sometimes I'd be working at the weekend, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes, I'd work 2 days here, 3 days there. And there was a shift pattern, but it was completely different to what I was used to. So a lot of the times I had no idea what day it was. Not a clue. And so everything kind of changed overnight. And it was really weird because I tried really hard. I made the massive effort to contact certain people and see how they were doing, sort of colleagues that I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to, or say, talk to you soon, or anything like that. So I kind of contacted a few that I had numbers for and everything. But it was just weird because nobody kind of knew what was happening. Nobody knew what they were supposed to be doing. Decisions were changing all the time. And so it was just a really weird time. And I'm not going to lie to you, on the days when it was lovely and hot and I wasn't working and I was sitting in the garden, I can't fault it. It was lovely. It was just really nice. But the overall feeling of it all was just kind of strange. And certainly at home, because my wife is a freelance photographer and she bases herself here at home, she was used to very much having the house to herself, while I was at work. So she had her own space. We did things separately, during the week, and we'd have our own space. But then suddenly we were in the house all the time together, which was lovely. And it really was lovely. And we had quite a laugh and it was great. But then there was odd days that we were quite tetchy. I think tetchy's a good word. And then we kind of sat down and had a chat about it. And we had to kind of realise that we had to kind of almost be honest with each other about those days, because the days when we were really tetchy, it was almost like when everything had suddenly, the realisation of everything changing, no matter how temporary we thought it was very weird. It was very weird. So yeah, so we sat down and we had a chat, and we were saying kind of like, sometimes you really get on my nerves. And then she said, well, actually, sometimes you get on my nerves. and we had to kind of say, right, we need to work through this, and we had to kind of chat it through. And we kind of had to realise that we had to be kinder to each other during those times, and kind of really kind of not beat ourselves up for being in a bad mood, or not feeling guilty for that, because we suddenly realised that we had very little time apart, and we were used to having time apart. We were used to having other friends that we saw and other activities that we'd do, and just physically being out of the house and then coming back and going, oh, I'll tell you about my day, or I'll tell you about what I've been doing, and we had nothing to tell each other because we were in it all the time. So that was weird, because I absolutely love her endlessly, absolutely adore her, and so I love spending time with her. But we had to realise that it was nothing against the other person. We had to kind of be really kind of, don't take it personally when I'm being when I'm being a bit of a bitch. Don't take it personally. And so that was a really odd time. And then when we, after a while, and we'd spoken to other friends, and we'd kind of mentioned it to other friends, we suddenly realised that absolutely every couple that we spoke to said, oh yeah, we did that. And oh my God, the breathing got on my nerves, and just this general existence in my space was getting on my nerves. And so we weren't on our own. It was kind of quite weird to talk to other people. But yeah, and as time went on, my shifts with helping out with home care, they increased quite a bit. So I was quite busy, and that was actually quite nice. I really enjoyed that. It was a completely different kind of way of working, doing shifts and kind of lone working as well. I was used to working in a team that I physically saw every day and that I physically spoke to every day. And so doing lone working, although it's a part of a team, it's not necessarily a team that you see and that you can chat to, and that was a little bit weird. But yeah, and as time kind of went on, then things started to change in terms of the day service, and it was kind of working out how it would work in terms of going back to normal and going back to kind of opening the day centre and opening things up for people. And not that was my decision, that was nothing to do with me, that's massively above my pay grade, but those decisions were being made and looking how that would work. And I started to wonder how it would all fit together when it came back. And then, kind of almost out of the blue really, an opportunity came up for another job. And it was a job within home care. So it was working as one of the coordinators and managing the home care caseloads. And so I kind of thought about it, and I thought about whether I'd go for it, and I was asked if I'd consider going for it. And I kind of thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. And I thought, well, I've been in my job for quite a long time, and I thought the actual interview experience would be quite good, really, because I've always said I'm rubbish at interviews. I kind of get myself all a little bit flummoxed, and it never seems to go well. But equally, I haven't done interviews for a long time, so I figured I'd kind of got nothing to lose. So I went for it, and I had lots of help. My daughter came over and helped me do some interview prep, and her overriding advice was, you need to learn when to shut up. So that was my advice from her. And Tracey helped me as well in terms of kind of prepping for everything. So I went for the interview, and I came out, and I thought, well, I thought I'd done okay in terms of what I was expecting, because normally I come out and think, oh gosh, what did you say that for? And then I found out that they'd accepted me and I'd got the job. And so suddenly I was changing from a job that I knew inside out to a job that I would have to kind of start from scratch and learn lots of new procedures for. And I found that really exciting, the idea of learning something new and doing something a bit more challenging, I suppose, in a way. But equally, in equal measure, I found it quite sad and quite, oh gosh, where did that come from? It's just the idea that, oh, that took me by surprise. It was just the people that I'd worked with for such a long time, and the citizens I'd worked with, I didn't really get to say goodbye. And I found that quite... Sorry, could you pass me a tissue? This is just ridiculous. But no, it was kind of quite... quite sad. I found it because ordinarily when we've worked in the day centre and we found out that a member of staff's leaving, or even one of the citizens is leaving, or something's happening, we normally have a big disco. We don't always have a big disco, and there's usually nibbles, disco with nibbles, and it's not that. I'm bitter and twisted that there was no disco and no nibbles. I'd like to think I'm not that shallow, but it's just an opportunity to say goodbye to everybody, and an opportunity to to give everybody a cuddle, really. and I kind of missed that. Oh my life, here we go. The thing is, to be fair, I have cried at the news before, so this shouldn't come as a shock. So yeah, I kind of found it really, really difficult, and I was kind of torn because I was very excited about this new job, and it was just an opportunity that I wasn't looking for, I wasn't expecting, I wasn't. I wouldn't say I was ready for, if I'm honest, but it just kind of came, and I kind of thought, I think I can do this. I think I could actually do this. And although I didn't think I'd get the job, because like I say, interviews, but I thought it was worth going for and worth trying, and I feel very lucky that I got it, because I do feel that I think it's a good move. It'll be a really good challenge, and it's a new set of people to work with. But I do feel I feel like not being able to say goodbye to certain people and not being able to give them a hug, because I do like a good hug. But not being able to give people a hug kind of feels like unfinished business. And yeah. So lockdown kind of, it's been weird. It's been, I feel, the thing is, I kind of feel, excuse me, I kind of feel that I'm kind of quite a positive person. I think it's fair to say that most people would describe me as quite a positive person. I'd certainly like to think so, but I think they would. But the whole lockdown, and I'm not just kind of talking about a job, I'm talking about home and my family and everything else. Oh, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It really has. It's really been. There's been times when I felt really, really. I'm loath to say down. Because I wouldn't say that I kind of fell into a depression or anything like that. I wouldn't say that it got me depressed, but I would say that there were times when I really dipped, that my mood really dipped. And even at home, kind of Tracey would say that that's not like you. And I knew it and I could feel it. And nothing in particular had happened that day. Nothing in particular was wrong. There was nothing that I could kind of put my finger on saying that's why. But it was kind of weird, the whole mood of lockdown. And it was weird because I still saw my daughters, and they'd pop over to say hello, but they'd sit on the top step in the front garden, and we'd sit at the house, and they couldn't come in, and they couldn't give me a hug when they arrived or give me a hug when they left, and it was really weird because all our conversations were in the front garden, and then as things changed and they could come round into the back garden, and slowly they've been allowed to come into the house. So things are getting better, but that initially it was really kind of quite bizarre. And I think for me it was the idea that I didn't know how long it was going to go on for, and there didn't feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It didn't feel like, this is how it's going to be for a week and then we'll be all good. It seemed to just be going on, going on and on. And so lockdown's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster, really. And in the space of this time, I feel like my life was kind of thrown up in the air, and as it's landed, it's completely different. And I mean, I'm really enjoying my new job. First week in, so still getting used to it. But I'm really enjoying it. But the things that I miss about my old job are the things that I'm not sure are going to still be there. The day centre can't open in the way it was. When you don't know what staff are going to still be there, and so it's all completely changing, and so it's strange. so that's kind of where my lockdown experience has left me. But I think I feel, in terms of my mood and my kind of just my well-being, really, I feel I'm okay. I have a little crying occasionally, but I'm okay because I feel very positive about my new job, and I still talk to my friends, and you know, all of that still happens, but there is this overriding kind of sense that I've missed an opportunity to to just say goodbye to certain people, and there's certain people I feel like I won't see again, and I won't get the chance to give a big hug to, and that continues to make me sad. It does. It continues to make me sad because I think I just think that there's some incredibly wonderful people that I've worked with, staff and citizens, and some people that I've really, really, loved to bits. And it just seems sad for me that that's the way it had to be. So yeah.